Okay, hi everyone. This is week 2, and the topic for this week is about what is public administration. For the topic of what is public administration, we should look at I mean we will look at the debate between Waldo and Simon, who are two leading scholars in the public administration discipline. Their major philosophical debate includes first, the meaning of a science for administration, second, the practical and analytical distinctions between values and facts, third, the nature of a responsible administration, and last, the relevance of constitutional democratic theory for public administration study. The key takeaway would be the idea whether public administration should be considered science or art. Okay, let's look at the Harvard Simon first. Yes, he would be the first scholar that we would take a look at. He wrote a book named Administrative Behavior in 1947, and this contains his idea about fact and value in government decision making. In other words, what involved in when government making decisions to solve social problems. His first main point is that the conclusions reached by a particular school of modern philosophy, logical positivism, will be accepted as a starting point and their implication for the theory of decision examined. Okay, this sounds a lot. Let's look at the logical positivism first. This means that scientific knowledge is the factual knowledge that can be tested and verified. In other words, he believed in science that we should adopt scientific principles to be used for public administration study. The approach to study public administration should be scientific. Okay, let's remember this. Public administration can be equalized to scientific. Okay? According to Simon, he believed in the dichotomy between fact and value. In other words, what it means is that it is versus out. What is there, what is there is different from what should be done. Okay, this is an easy way to explain it. You see the difference here? Here comes his second main point, and that is understanding public administration is about fact rather than value. He saw that is about fact. What is there? And what we can see and test. And it can be equalized to scientific. However, art is about value. What should be done? In other words, it can mean art. And he think public administration should be about fact that can be tested and verified. Okay, you see the difference here? Okay, good. So let's move on to the next part. Based on this, he argued that values had no place in public administration research and understanding public administration. What it means is that public administration should be nothing but something that could be tested and verified facts. He thought that decisions by administrators and its processes could be value free and morally neutral, uncorrupted by the normative preferences of people involved. Again, his thought was based on the belief that public administration under should be understood in a scientific way because their decision is fact based. Okay, that is the major takeaway. And then Let's move on to the last point of Sir Herbert Simon. Of course, in real world, he also knew that administrators involved in decision making are circumcised by bounded rationality, meaning that public administrators cannot be value neutral or maximize their preference in their decision making. And in order to explain this, he used the term bounded rationality. This means that administrators make decisions that meet minimum standards of satisfaction. In depth, they make decisions where they feel satisfied, even if it is not totally value neutral. However, still, this reflects the idea that people try to make rational and scientific decisions in government. Okay, so that was about Herbert Simon, and he again emphasized, he argued that public administration should be understood as a science. Okay, and then let's move on to the other scholar, which is who is Dwight Waldo. And there, he made the opposite argument. He wrote a book, Administrative State, in 1948. In this book, he questioned about why the scientific perspective should be prioritized in studying public administration. His main point was that administration is generally suffused with the questions of values. In other words, administration belong to the value or art. What should be done? Of course, he also admitted that some administrative issues are subjected to scientific approaches. Anyway, he values more on value in public administration. Followings are his distinction between physical science problem and administration problem. According to his view, physical science problem is dealt in the field such as physics, chemistry, or astronomy. Then they focus on cause and effects. For example, they focus on things like when wind blows, if wind blows, leaves fall, something like this. Something that has a very clear cause and effect. However, he thought administration problem is different. It is about what should be done. And in other words, it is concerned primarily with human beings, a type of being characterized by thinking and valuing. How can human be like value neutral? Only fact based. How can we understand human? That was his question. And public administration is about human. Okay? You see his point here? Okay, what is next? He defined valuing as morality, conceptions of right and wrong. He thought that the established techniques of science are inapplicable to thinking and valuing human beings. Questions of value are not amenable to scientific treatment. It seems like he also thinks that value and facts are different, just like Simon, but he value more on value itself. He thinks again human beings value cannot be understood completely through scientific approaches. Okay, and based on this, He believed that if administration is indeed the core of a modern government, then a theory of democracy in the 20th century must embrace administration. Okay, as a simple way to explain this, he emphasized a lot on the value of democracy in public administration. He believed that democracy should be prioritized over the value of efficiency, which is the value emphasized on Simon's scientific approach of administration. He thought that too much emphasis on efficiency would block the development of democracy. Okay. Again, he emphasized a lot on democracy, and democracy is related to the value. Okay. Waldo then argued that a logical positivism is useful in some ways, but in some ways it is limited and can be misleading. He thought logical positivism, which emphasized the verification of the fact, can only explain one area of human experience and consider it as the experience of the whole. This we should be warned of explaining the PA issues. And of course, we would discuss more in the class, but the figure on the slide shows the alignment of the fields within the range of science and art. It shows that physics, chemistry, biology is definitely science. However, the question of the balance between science and art are left to other fields, such as psychology and political science. We should think about where public administration should be aligned with the line. Okay, how should we understand public administration from the range of science and art? That's our major question this week and what we should think about. Okay. Okay, so this is the summary of what we have discussed today. Harvard Simon, he believed that public administration is a science, and science is fact-based, and it emphasizes the causal relationship, the relationship between variables, cause and effect. He viewed a value neutral fact should be emphasized in understanding public administration. And it is linked to the idea of managing a public organization as the same with the public organization. You see the point here? Because like science is applicable to all fields. And then because of his view on this, he thinks that public organization, private organization, they have no difference. Okay, that was his view. Dwight Waldo, he believed that public administration should be understood as art, which is value-based, value-laden. This leads to an idea that managing public administration is essentially different from the private, because the private, they have different value applicable system. For public administration, they should emphasize value because they should follow democratic theory. The democracy is the core of public administration. You see the point here? Democracy. It is for the human being, human well-being. That's why public administration is existing. Okay, so Simon's idea later that became new public management, and Waldo's idea became the new public administration. And those will be discussed later this semester. However, this week we saw the ideas, philosophical ideas that grounds on such like movement. Okay. The major question between Waldo and Simon was, is public administration as a practice is primarily an art requiring intuitive and experience, or can be cased on scientifically derived knowledge? It was their main question. And of course, we would discuss this further in the class. Okay, so everyone, thank you for listening, and we would meet in the class for the discussion and further, like further, for discussion with your classmate and discussion about the contents of itself. Okay.